Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. There's an article in the most recent issue of the Harvard Business Review making the rounds, arguing that organizations are doing too many transformations too often and that constant change is damaging. The authors point to change fatigue, shaking confidence from customers and investors, and leadership teams spending more time doing transformation than building products serving customers and creating value. They even recommend getting off what they call the transformation treadmill, instead building a system that senses change early and makes steady adjustments. Well, no question, the diagnosis of change fatigue is real. If you've ever watched a company reorganize itself 3 times in 2 years, you know exactly what they mean. People stop believing anything is real. They wait it out. The organization learns helplessness. The best people leave. So yes, random change for optics, and change that's disconnected from a real business problem, that is destructive. But here's where I want to rebut the conclusion. We're entering a period where the rate of change is not just high, it's accelerating, and it's being driven by artificial intelligence. AI is not just a productivity feature that you bolt onto last year's workflow. AI is a general-purpose capability that changes how work is performed, who performs it, what skills matter, and how decisions get made. Treating it like an add-on is the corporate equivalent of adding a turbocharger to a horse. The key mistake in the too much change argument is that it assumes organizations can mostly remain intact if they become a little bit more agile, if they tune their dashboards and keep problems small. That might work in an environment where the underlying system remains stable, but AI is changing the underlying system. So let's bring it home to real estate. In real estate investing, we're used to a world where advantage comes from relationships, from local knowledge, execution, and access to capital. Those still matter for sure, but the mechanics of the business are being rewritten. Underwriting used to be a mix of spreadsheets, comps, phone calls, and judgment. Asset management was weekly meetings, variance reports, and manual follow-up. Leasing was humans doing lead qualification, tours, and negotiation. Construction management was a coordination problem solved by experienced superintendents, plus a whole lot of friction. AI attacks friction. It compresses the cycle time. It turns unstructured information into structured decisions. It automates coordination. It doesn't just make one person faster. It changes the minimum viable headcount for a process. It changes the shape of an organization chart. It means that if your organization was built around yesterday's bottlenecks, you're going to lose to someone who redesigns the workflow around today's capabilities. And that's the part that leaders miss. When you introduce AI into a broken process, you don't get transformation, you just get faster chaos. If your data is messy, AI scales the mess. If your approvals are political, AI makes the politics faster. If your incentives reward gaming metrics, AI helps people game the metrics more effectively. So real work is not adopting AI. The real work is redesigning business processes and organizational design so that AI becomes a native part of how decisions are made, how work is sequenced, and how accountability is assigned. And that sounds like transformation. And guess what it is? It's not a transformation for transformation's sake. It's transformation because the competitive landscape has shifted underneath your feet. Now you might say, well, Victor, doesn't that put us back on the treadmill? Well, not necessarily, and this is the nuance. The treadmill is when change is episodic, it's traumatic, and it's disconnected, where you reorganize, you rebrand, replatform, repeat. The alternative is not less change. The alternative is building an operating system for change. The authors talk about sensing change early and adapting continuously, and I agree with that principle. Where I disagree is the implied scale of adaptation required in the era of artificial intelligence. Early sensing is no longer a quarterly leadership exercise. It's got to be embedded into daily operations through data, through automated feedback loops, and rapid experimentation. Organizations that win will look different. First, they'll be built around multidisciplinary product teams, not functional silos. AI-enabled workflows cut across underwriting, acquisitions, legal, asset management, and finance. If those functions cannot collaborate in real time, you cannot compete. Secondly, they will treat data as a balance sheet item. If your utility bills, the maintenance logs, resident communications are not structured and accessible, you don't have an AI strategy. You've got the proverbial shoebox. Third, they will redesign governance. With AI, the question becomes what decisions are automated and what decisions are augmented, and which decisions require human judgment with fiduciary accountability. That's an organizational design problem, not a software problem. Fourth, they will invest in capability building, not train everyone to prompt ChatGPT. I mean, completely redesigning roles. The analysts become model supervisors, property managers become exception handlers and customer experience leaders. Construction managers become orchestration leaders using automation to reduce rework and delays. And fifth, they will be honest about what's being disrupted. Some jobs will change drastically. Some will completely disappear. Leaders who pretend otherwise will create fear, rumors, and resistance. And the ethical path is transparency, reskilling, and a clear explanation of how value will be created and shared. So yes, too much random change is harmful, but in an environment of accelerating AI-driven change, resisting meaningful redesign is even worse. It's a slow-motion failure. In real estate, we talked about the highest and best use for land. The same idea applies to an organization. AI has changed the zoning code for your business. And if you keep operating the same way you were, you're not just being stable, you're being obsolete. The goal is not change, the goal is relevance. The goal is value creation. And in the AI era, that requires a complete rethink of processes and organizational design. It's not a productivity add-on. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.